Next up, David, would you like to talk about some Dice Masters?
Yeah.
Let me see if I got some
So
pictures to join here. Dice Masters.
so Dice Masters, for anyone that hasn't heard about it, is a collectible dice battle game. It shares some similarities to Magic the Gathering or other CCGs.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Um, I've never played Magic. I've never really been into any other CCG. But I think what this game's done is it's learned lessons from a lot of CCGs. It's designed by Eric Lang and one other really good designer, and I hate the fact that I'm blanking on who that other designer is. Mike Elliott.
Mike Elliott of Magic the Gathering?
Maybe?
Perhaps.
We can look these things up. We have the internet.
Yes. Mike Elliott of Magic the Gathering. According to his Board Game Geek profile.
Cool. He was a good designer.
Yes. So, what I will say is that in the early days of this game, there were issues with limited cards. The game had problems getting into distribution. The game was much more widely popular than WizKids ever thought it would be. And so what happened with a very limited set is that people basically found the dominant strategy, which was to get a whole bunch of characters into play and to never attack. So basically a turtle strategy. And I'll get into how the game's actually played in a moment. But as more sets have come out, and there's been 2 more sets released, and we've got 2 more sets planned in the next month. One's coming out tomorrow, March 11th, and another's coming out in mid-April. The strategies in this game have changed wildly, and at this point, I think there is no dominant strategy. And that's a great thing. So the way this game is played is that both players start with 8 sidekick dice, and all these dice are 6-sided, and they have 1 of each of the 4 basic energy types, and a wild side, and then a character side. And what you do is there's 2 main ways of playing the game. There is fully constructed, and there is what's called a rainbow draft. And it's rainbow because the dice are various colors, and so when you put all the dice in the center, it looks like a rainbow because you have red, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, gray, black dice, etc.
All the colors.
All the colors of the rainbow. So it's actually quite fun. I've actually gotten to the point where I much prefer playing rainbow drafts because you have to really think on your feet, and it really prevents a lot of the heavy strategy and I know what you're bringing because you always bring that deck, and you know what I'm bringing because I always bring that team. But even then, I think there's a lot of shakeups. So on your turn, you roll your dice, and you can then re-roll any dice that you want. After that, you can field dice. Every character face has a fielding cost in the upper left corner. Most fielding costs are 0, 1, or 2. Some go up to 3, but that's for like your really powerful characters.
In the upper
Like
left side?
Yeah, upper left of a die face.
Oh, gotcha. So the little things down here. Hold on, let me get it.
Yeah.
'Cause I've got a load of
can
character cards up right now.
Yeah. You can also purchase a character, and that's in the upper left of a character card. So for anyone watching the stream, Will's got a Spider-Man, which costs 5 fist. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to have 5 fist energy to buy it. It means that you have to have 1 fist and 5 total energy to purchase.
So this works a little bit like mana cost versus converted mana cost in Magic.
Okay.
Oh, you wouldn't know that. Never mind.
I wouldn't know that, but I'm sure somebody does. So that makes sense to someone. Now, Will also has an 8 cost Phoenix, and since you're only rolling 4 dice, and each die has 1 energy on it, neither the 5 cost Spider-Man nor the 8 cost Phoenix are actually achievable on your first turn. But the 4 cost Shield Captain America might be. And there's characters that have cost of 2 or 3 or 4.
They're just not as cool as Spider-Man and Captain America.
Yeah. The nice thing is, some of these characters, on a character die, so once you actually buy, say, a Captain America, on his die, 3 of his faces are the actual Captain America character.
So that's these 3 faces on the right side of the card.
Yeah. On the other 3 faces are energy. 1 face is only 1 energy, but the other 2 faces are 2 energy. So that's a way that you start being able to build up to buy better characters. So in this game, you actually, there are times you don't want your characters. You want to use your character dice as energy to be able to buy better characters.
Cool. Now you said it's kind of like a CCG. Do you start drawing dice at random, or how does that work?
So what's going to happen whenever you use dice, they go to a used pile, and then you have a dice bag. So at the start of your turn, you draw 4 dice from your dice bag, and if you can't draw 4, you take every die. You take as many as you can from your dice bag, and then you take everything that's in your used pile and you put it in your bag. So there's always a churn. Think of it as a discard pile, and then you shuffle your discard pile, and you then have a draw deck.
Gotcha. So this is basically a drafting game because all of your good characters start outside your bag. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes. Yeah. So when you start the game, you only have 8 sidekick dice
In your bag.
and then you have brought a team of characters that you can purchase.
So it's got a little bit of kind of the Dominion or the Ascension.
There's a Dominion aspect, Ascension, any of those deck builder games. A lot of people compared it to Quarriors, which is a dice building game that WizKids also published. And I've played Quarriors, and I was not a fan of Quarriors at all. In Quarriors, I wasn't a fan of the fact that basically you had to attack in order to do anything in the game.
In this game,
Like
it's like optional.
Yeah, here attacking's optional, and sometimes that's a detriment because it leads to people just building defensive walls. But you realize that if you build a wall forever, you create a stalemate. and nobody likes a stalemate. So in tournament games, the games are timed.
Hmm.
And when time runs out, then you play 5 more turns. And whoever, I should say that you have 20 life points to start the game.
So it's exactly like Magic. Sorry.
Yes, and so
No. You get the reference, right? Right, Will?
Yeah.
So David, just so you know, what I have been holding back from doing this whole time, and I'm just going to allow myself one, is in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series, which is what made me think of this, because you said there's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Dice too.
Yeah.
There's, see now Will's like seeing what I'm seeing. There's a point where they introduce dungeon dice monsters, which is sort of like, it's basically Yu-Gi-Oh! But with dice. And in the Abridged series parody, the guy who makes the game explains it, and at every point, the main character goes, so it's exactly like Duel Monsters, which is what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is called in the game. And he's like, so your point is to reduce your opponent's life points, so it's exactly like Duel Monsters. And he's like, no, it's not exactly like Duel Monsters at all. And the main character goes, how is it different? My game uses dice. That's all I can think right now. I'm so sorry.
It's not entirely inaccurate either.
It just sounds so much like Magic, and I'm just looking at this going, so it's exactly like Duel Monsters. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Hey,
Stop.
everything's like Magic these days.
I mean, there are definitely subtle differences. There are cards that can provide global abilities, and you can use energy that you don't spend to buy characters to activate a global ability.
So it's exactly like, sorry.
So it's exactly like Star Realms.
What?
So both players have access to those, and so like if you bring a global ability on your side, you're actually allowing your opponent to activate that. There's also, each player brings in 2 basic action cards, and either player can purchase those basic actions.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and you're going to bring in the basic actions that most benefit your team, but you might end up bringing something that your opponent can use.
Yeah, this sounds ridiculously hard to meta for.
It can be, and now try doing it in a rainbow draft when you have really no idea what's going on.
You just look for the best card and be like, can I work with this? And like, sure, let's take this guy.
Well, and what happens a lot is if you open up, because you open up 6 packs at a time, and each pack has 2 cards. So if you open up a super rare, your first pick is a super rare. You're not passing that to anybody.
Yeah.
And then you just go from there. I should mention the model of the game, in terms of, since it is collectible. Every set there's a starter pack, and those, for the most part, Yu-Gi-Oh's been the exception, but they come with 2 dice of every character, and there's 8 different characters in them, plus 16 sidekicks, which is enough for 2 players, plus like 10 different basic actions and enough big basic action dice to use them.
So what do the Yu-Gi-Oh starters come with?
The Yu-Gi-Oh starters, I think they had 8 characters with 2 dice each, and then the basic action cards and the sidekick dice and all the dice you needed to play, but they had less character cards. I don't know why that was.
Lots of dice.
It's still really hard not to say, so it's exactly like Duel Monsters.
Yeah.
Damn it, Tucker.
So every set, so we had Avengers versus X-Men, we had Uncanny X-Men, we've had Yu-Gi-Oh, we get D&D Battle for Farin, We're getting DC Battle of Light, I think, or War of Light. Or, sorry, DC Justice League. I've lost track of all the different sets that are coming.
Everything
But-
you love about games or cartoons or comics there will be eventually here.
Quite possibly. Basically, if there's hero clicks for it, there's a good chance that it'll show up as Dice Masters.
Did we say they were doing D&D Dice Masters too?
Yeah, that's supposedly coming out tomorrow.
So, when is Star Trek Dice Masters going to happen?
The Enterprise D versus
I
Thor,
don't
God
know.
of Thunder?
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know that I want to see it, but some part of me actually does. But yeah, so there's a starter set, and then there's booster packs that come out. A lot of people just buy gravity feeds, which are 90 booster packs at a time.
They're remarkably cheap.
Yeah, there are commons, uncommons, rares. In every pack, you get one common and then either another common or uncommon or rare or super rare. Each booster pack is a $1, which is pretty nice.
2 cards and 2 dice.
Yeah, and you get 2 cards and the matching dice for those cards. To be relatively competitive, you would want to buy probably a starter set in a couple of different sets, and then I'd say 30 or so booster packs in a couple of different sets. And the nice thing is that people that have bought have a ton of extras, and so if your store is doing organized play in any way, shape, or form, you have people like me who will basically give or sell commons and uncommons at ridiculously cheap prices because we don't have any way to store them.
Or just be like, here guy, here's 20 commons, have fun.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like there's some sort of uniqueness rule wherein having multiples of the same guy is not terribly useful or desirable.
Well, yeah, you cannot in your team. You can only have like one version of Thor.
So there could be like a Thor, God of Thunder, who's level 6, and there could be Thor, Warrior of Might, who's like level 5.
But you can't even have both of those
in the same team. No.
Okay. Oh wow.
You'd want to have both versions because they have different abilities and they have different
right. But
different
my point
things
is
they can do. But
my point is, in other words, anytime I open a duplicate at all, that is a card I don't want.
Mostly, except for the fact that you might want the dice, because every card has can take a maximum of typically 4 dice.
So
And so,
you could purchase it 4 times.
yeah.
That's
So, for instance, most characters have a common, uncommon, and rare version.
Mm-hmm. And
so, if you got, let's say, a perfect situation, you got one of each, you'd have 3 dice. Each of those versions would have a maximum of 4 dice, but you can use their dice on any version of them. There's no uniqueness. There's no differentiation between, oh, this is a common die versus a rare die.
Oh, that's cool.
Got it. And
Yeah.
Are the dice the same between versions? I'm a little confused. Sorry.
There's a different art scheme. So like Spider-Man is in both Avengers vs. X-Men and Uncanny.
Mm-hmm.
So his die is almost inverted color scheme. So in tournament play, you have to have the die that matches the artwork.
Mm.
But for home play, you could do whatever you wanted.
But let's say we have the regular Spider-Man web slinger we were saying just before, and we have a different version of him, his dice faces would all be the same.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of the nice thing is if you open a super rare and you get the die, like a super rare Black Widow. Well, she also has a common version. So you want 4 Black Widow dice. But you
don't need 4 super rare Black Widows. You only need one of them for the card, and the other 3 dice can come from somewhere else.
Exactly. And so you're not chasing 4 super rares to get 4 copies of that. You can to the dice elsewhere.
And if Black Widow Common and Black Widow Super Rare are in the same set, their dice will look the same, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're right in.
So, in other words, within a same... So the only problem with using multiple dice and multiple versions is switching between sets. So in other words, a situation where you only need 1 copy of a super rare, but you might want multiple commons.
Right. And you're going to get multiple commons for the most part.
That's cool. I like this model.
It's just like I suddenly see myself in a position where I could be trading a super rare for like a common or something if I really needed that common. It's weird.
Well, the nice thing is that, say online, you could probably trade a super rare for a set of, like a full play set of commons and uncommons and all the dice to go with them. Like that's the value difference in the cards.
So not quite as bad as most CCGs, but there is still some rarity chasing.
There is, but the nice thing is, like in the first set that came out, there were the Black Widow and the Green Goblin super rares were dominant forces. They were just really good cards. In the next set that came out, none of the super rares were great cards, and they introduced a lot of cards that made those original super rares not dominant cards. Still good cards, but not like you had to have them.
Cool.
Which is why I said the meta swung in wide varieties. Don't get me wrong.
If you're a new player that might want to try out this game, you're not in too bad of a position.
No, I mean, like I say, the fact that we've got 3 sets out, we're getting another one tomorrow and another one in April, and that's going to be 5 sets, and somebody's going, well, what do I do? Because there's now like 600 different cards out and so much stuff. Don't worry about it. This is actually a good time to get in because you can basically pick a set or 2 sets and get in because any of them are good. Like any set or any 2 sets can compete with anything or everything.
I remember when I got into Magic, and I got in around the time that Homelands was released.
Oh God, that's set.
Any Magic player knows exactly what I'm talking about there now.
Oh God, that's set.
This is not that. This is nice.
You know, to all you Magic players out there, I drafted Homelands once. That was the most miserable thing I've ever done.
Sorry, David, we hijacked from you there.
No, it's okay. So the last thing I'll say, I really like the game, and I like the fact that it's comics. The Marvel really drew me in. It's got a lot of variety. There's a lot of room to explore things in this game, and yeah, I'd say it's worth trying to get a demo of the game if you're at all interested. There's a ton of videos. There's a lot of blogs out there. There's the Reserve Pool, Dyson. There's a couple of other things out there. Just if you're at all curious, do some research, see if it's a game that you're interested in, and find somebody to teach you the game. And most people are happy to do so.
I mean, card art looks nice. And it has huge pictures on it too, which is something that's a change from most like CCGs and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's all stuff that's taken from comic book covers.
That's cool.
It's not
Or
like
you.
I was just gonna say, it's not like they don't have enough to choose from.
Yeah. And I know like the D&D artwork is even better. It's all taken from 5th edition handbooks.
See if I can grab some pictures from that real quick. But yeah. Any advice you would give to someone just starting out? There, some quick tips before they dive too deep.
Play games before you go crazy buying stuff. Make sure it's something you enjoy playing before you go spend hundreds of dollars. Because the most important thing, you have to have people to play. Because if you just buy stuff, it's going to sit on your shelf.
The unfortunate reality of most board games.
Yeah, especially anything that's competitive like this, because it is for the most part a 2-player game. They have rules to do a 4-player game, but even then it's 2v2. And so when I first bought into the game, I had convinced a couple of friends to try it, and they were moderately interested. And we played a game here and there, but nobody really got into it. My local store hadn't really played it. Nobody was trying it out. That had to do with some of the supply issues. But once some more sets came out, more people were playing it, and then we burst onto the scene with tournament play and everything. And since then, we have 6, 8, 10 people showing up to tournaments, and because of that, there's a lot of variety in who's playing and it's just energized me in terms of liking the game. And without that, I'd say that I wouldn't be enthusiastic about the game, because I like it, but I need that interaction with other people who also enjoy the game.
Cool. Very neat. Also, dirt cheap to get just a couple packs to get you started. Be very careful about that. It's easy to.
I mean, $1 a pack is a great thing until you realize that you want to buy packs and packs and packs.
60 packs, that's cheap, man. If this were Magic, that would be like $300.
Yeah, if you're going to buy 60 packs, you're better off saying, hey, can I just get a gravity feed? Because most places will give you a discount on buying a whole box.
Cool.
And then you get 90 packs, and you're also guaranteed at least one super rare. So.
Nice. All right. So that is Dice Masters then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Seems neat. Do we actually go into how to play it mostly, or no? That was just the collectible side of it and how
I
it
didn't
works.
go too much into playing it. There's a Rodney Smith from Watch It Play did a great how to play video. And if anything, I can say go watch that, because he does a far better job than I ever could of explaining how to actually play the game.
What was the name?
Rodney Smith of Watch It Played.
Gotcha. I could probably put a link to that in the YouTube description once we're done here.
Yes. I
That'd be
can
cool.
even send you that link once we're done.
Excellent. All right. That is Marvel Dice Masters, guys.